Welcome to Expand Your Fempire with Caterina Rando, the podcast for women in business on a mission, sharing ideas to support you to grow, lead, and thrive. Now, here's your host, Caterina Rando.
Welcome back to another episode of the Expand Your Fempire podcast. I'm your host, Caterina Rando. I am blessing to be with you today. We have an amazing guest, the fabulous, phenomenal, big-hearted Karen Robinson. Her specialty is helping women on a mission just like you holistically heal their trauma so that you can bliss and thrive more in your business. Karen, welcome. Blessing to have you here.
Caterina, it's such an honor to spend time with you and your audience today.
Karen, you and I are friends. We've known each other for a while. We love to hang out and be together. What I love about you is that you are such an uplifting person and that you help women entrepreneurs with a challenge area, which is addressing their trauma. And I feel this is a very important topic for women entrepreneurs because sometimes when we haven't healed or we haven't addressed certain things that have taken place in our life, it holds us back. It has us be more in our fear than in our freedom. Why do you feel this is important for us to talk about today?
Yeah, really important question. What I know about trauma is that women are exposed to it over and over and over during the course of their whole lifetime. And my specialty is exactly that. I specialize in complex trauma healing. In complex trauma, what that means is that your trauma may have started in childhood. It could be from being bullied in school. It could be that your family wasn't safe or there was a lot of chaos in your family. Maybe there was domestic violence between your parents or substance abuse of any kind. Complex trauma starts at childhood, and then it could be a sexual assault later. It could be a really unhealthy or toxic relationship where there's emotional abuse, financial abuse. And then it could be sexual harassment in the workplace. When I worked for the Department of Defense, I had to file 22 EEO complaints. And it took an act of Congress to remove someone that was sexually harassing me.
Wow.
I should be able to go to work in peace, right?
Right. And every
Yes.
woman should be able to go to work without the threat of harassment. And my friend, I'm sure that's why some gals have started their own business. So they didn't
That's
have
just
to.
going to say that.
Exactly. Let's talk about this, if we may. You have your own business. You do amazing summits for women to heal from trauma. You work with people one-on-one. You lead groups. You lead retreats. And I am wanting to talk to you about what you see with women entrepreneurs as some of the things that have come up that we want to shine the spotlight on today.
Yeah. How trauma can show up in your workplace is when you may not feel confident. Or I shouldn't say your workplace, because again, a lot of women, when they've dealt with harassment, and a lot of women too have problems with authority in general because they feel like they've been under someone's thumb in some way or another. So the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur is you get to decide when you're going to work, what projects you're going to do. You get to decide a lot of different avenues. And that is very freeing for any survivor of any type of oppression. Right?
And also we get to decide if somebody gives us the creeps or somebody is inappropriate with us in the initial contact with them, we don't have to take them on as a client, which is great. That is some of the freedom. And I know that women with JOBs, unfortunately, don't always have that freedom to stay away from the ones that intuitively we know are not safe, or we have a whiff of not safe. What I want to ask is, for women that have had, as you say, complex trauma, or they've had experiences in the past, how does that impact us as we are wanting to do business today?
Mhm. The biggest words that come up for me in that is self-sabotage. I am someone that's struggled with that a lot as well, and I recognize it in many, many of my clients. And how that looks like, because you mentioned, that my intelligence, a lot of the women or most of the women are really creative and brilliant at what they do. But marketing, and as you know, the sales piece, there's a lack of confidence, or they'll make brilliant plans to do X, Y, and Z. And then they allow anything and everything to get in the way. Like, I could come up with some very creative excuses for just about anything. And so it sets us back when we allow that to happen. We also struggle with taking care of ourselves, our self-care. We put other people before ourselves. We put all our clients and our customers, and then we wonder why we're feeling a little haggard, right? So those are a couple of things, is the self-sabotage, which isn't always conscious, by the way. It's a subconscious or an unconscious process that goes on because of unhealthy beliefs you may have about yourself that are deeper within us.
Let's talk about that. You said unhealthy, unconscious beliefs we might have about ourselves. Oh my gosh. How do we combat that? Because, Karen, as you say, I meet a lot of women, super smart, very talented at what they do. Oh my gosh, I can't get them to focus on inviting people to talk to them to be their client. They want to grow their business, but they're so afraid, maybe it's unconscious, of rejection, and maybe rejection equals not feeling safe. And so they're not discussing the possibility of offering someone their services. They're not pursuing opportunities. What are your thoughts?
Well, I am at times that woman, right? So I do have a lot of thoughts about this. And I think it comes to doing the things that help you feel confident. That's the superficial level, I would say, and maybe the easiest thing to do. So it could be doing some energy, like our friend Elaine, like when I did some public speaking, she would help prep me by doing the woman warrior poses and stuff like that, help pump you up. And they work, right? So those things can be really helpful. It might be just putting on a lipstick that you love. It might be, wearing your favorite color. So just having those little things that can help with your confidence, that's a quick fix. A deeper fix is really working on your belief system and, doing some detective work on figuring out how you got them in the first place. Sometimes it's easy to find out, like if you were in second grade and your teacher said, well, that was stupid of you. Of course, 3 plus 3 is 6. Like, what's wrong with you? That might have really just kind of hit your heart and you never let go of it. And so even though you might have gotten a PhD in X, Y, and Z, that I am stupid belief may be in the background playing, right? It never went away. So you doubt yourself, you become uncertain. So I work with a lot of women on looking at their belief system, like where the injury came from, and then learning how to heal that. I use some analytical tools, and a type of therapy that's called is cognitive behavioral therapy. And some of the analytical tools I use is like deep dive questions on, if that belief is true, why is that so upsetting? Is this belief useful to you? Like, how is this belief helping your life be better? Are you able to achieve your goals with this belief? Are you getting along with others well because of this belief? Are you feeling good about yourself because of this belief? And if you're not, that's a sure sign like, okay, if this belief is useful, could you be ready to let it go? So sometimes we do visuals, like I'll have them put that belief in the wheelbarrow, then we wheel it to the dump, we dump it out. But what works even better is to have a substitute healthy belief. So if your deep-seated belief is, I'm stupid, and maybe you have a learning disability. So we don't want to be too Pollyanna and say, oh, now I'm Einstein. We want something believable and healthy, like, I am capable of learning, you know? I've accomplished a lot. I am accomplishing things every day, something more healthy and believing. And then I have women practice that belief, that affirmation, that counter over and over and over. I get them to put it on index cards and decorate them. I ask them to look at it the first thing when you open your eyes in the morning, look at your card, read it out loud, feel the card. This is kinesthetic learning. You know, ground your feet in the ground, look in the mirror, and then hear with your voice your affirmation. And you do the same process before you go to bed, and you also do it throughout the day. It takes no time to do your affirmations, it takes a few seconds. So over and over and over. And I promise one day you'll wake up believing what you've been practicing, but it's not overnight. It really does take time.
What you're talking about, Karen, is part of our mindset and our self-talk. And that is so important for women in business, for us to master our self-talk and pay attention to those things that come out of our mind or even thoughts that we have that are not serving us, and to do as you're suggesting and give them replacement beliefs that do support us. Essential. Karen, I want to ask you, because you're such a kind, sweet, loving person who's so wonderful to be around. How did you decide that trauma and helping women with trauma was going to be your entrepreneurial focus?
I love this question because if you think about it, it's really not the most uplifting career to have, right? To be working with trauma survivors. But I feel like it's my purpose. I feel like I've been called to do this work. I am also a complex trauma survivor. I had a really, really difficult childhood, and that childhood to this day can still impact me. I've done a lot of healing work. I'm continuing to work on my healing journey. But how I decided to really make this my career is because I'm just simply good at it. When I work with women and a few good men, I like to say, because I do take men individually as clients as well. The feedback I often get from them is that they feel heard. They really truly feel heard. And that engagement, that relationship is the most important piece of working with someone in their healing. But also now I also get it personally. And now as a professional with 25 years in the field, I have gotten all the certifications in trauma. Like it's hard to find someone that's more than an expert than I am. They are out there, but they're the ones that are writing the big research books and stuff. And that's not what I've decided to do. But I've taken all the trainings and done all the things. And so I know a lot about how to heal trauma holistically. It doesn't mean I'm everybody's best fit, right? Like if you want EMDR, I've been trained. I just don't like it. I don't like the finger, the waving. So I do the things I like as I help heal people.
Well, that's what we want, right? It's your business. You get to do the stuff that you like, my friend.
That's right.
Let me ask you this. What makes, even though you're in the trauma business, what makes you bliss in your business?
Mhm. Seeing people get better. I see people heal almost daily. It's a journey, right? And we celebrate little wins. We work on the small T's, the little traumas first, so people can learn to trust me and trust themselves with the healing journey. And then we go on to the bigger T's when they feel like they can really regulate themselves and not be too distressed as they work through it. So
That-
seeing people heal is what's rewarding.
That's a great strategy. Start with the little T's. Karen, let me ask you this, because some of our listeners, I'm sure they're thinking of their lives as we're having this discussion. And of course, we know that women encounter all kinds of trauma, not just from their family of origin, sexual trauma, etc. But there may be women who have said, hey, I haven't had that experience, that I fortunately didn't have a family where there was substance abuse, or I didn't have a sexual assault, but they probably had some trauma too. Would you agree, my friend? Let's talk a little bit about the small T's that some of
Yes.
us have encountered.
Yes. So one of the things I will say as someone who's had a lot of small T's and big T's, I don't really like the statement we've all had trauma
Mhm.
because it lumps us all together and it maybe discounts the women who've had significant trauma, right? But I also do agree that most of us have small T's from some point. And it's also perspective and what happens. It also your culture, your financial status. Like COVID is an example where that was a big T for some people and a little T for some people. And then there's other people who completely thrived. They were able to pivot and they were okay. A lot of people were completely derailed. Like if you lost a few family members, and I consider grief part of that trauma too. So when you look at the whole scope of trauma, did you have a surgery that went wrong, like a medical trauma? Were you part of a national disaster where you felt unsafe? Were you in a major car accident where you had a concussion? That's trauma. So there are multiple ways to have a traumatic incident. I think some people just, it's too painful to talk about or think about.
Mhm.
So they kind of stuff it down and they stuff it down by overworking, over drinking, overeating, over shopping. There's lots of different ways where we kind of cope. And of course, some of those are a little healthier than others. But what I would recommend is to really cope in a healthy way by doing deeper self-care practices like meditation, prayer, journaling, reading healthy, positive content, like some devotionals, things that will lift you up. Motivational chats on YouTube. Do the things that will really be healing and soothing instead of those unhealthy things. That will help you get better too.
I'm going to tell you my comfort TV, Karen,
Mhm.
is I watch Angela Lansbury in Murder, She Wrote, and that always makes me feel good, even though there's a murder involved, at least one, if not two. But at the end, she's always laughing at the end of the episode. That always makes me happy. And she's super smart and very fun. I think it is good for us to find healthier ways to cope. And, I'm with you in our Thriving Women in Business community. And I would say that community, I think, is a very
Oh,
important part. And I know you have your own community. Being in a community of amazing women, either all working together on something or even simply being together, is very healing. What are your thoughts on women and community as it relates to healing?
well, research proves that it's way more effective. And what I am now saying about healing in community, because I'm doing a lot of energy work right now as well, is that healing in community is taking your healing on a quantum leap. Think about it. When we do something on our own, that's one brain. And you can be really smart, but you're only going to go so far with your one brain. But when you're in a collective of women with the same goal or the same healing journey, we have all those collective brains, right? So you have the coach or the therapist, the leader with their wisdom, but every woman in the room has been on a journey and there's a lot of wisdom there. They come from different backgrounds, different experiences, different families. even different education. Like in my membership, there's lawyers, teachers, musicians, there's homemakers. I have 2 other therapists in my community, and it's just beautiful to see how we all help each other.
And uplift each other. A rising woman lifts all the women around her. Bing, bing, bing. And
Amen.
that's definitely you. Karen, I know that you have a gift for our listeners. Do you want to take a moment and tell them about that?
Yes. So my gift is really thick. It's a digital download. It's called the Healing Planner. And what's really unique about it is it has checklists on different symptoms you can have. There's habit trackers, and there's also more than 100 journaling prompts. There's self-care ideas. So it's a really robust product that I usually charge for in my boutique. But for anyone listening to us, we want to gift you this today, for being a customer of Caterina's or a follower of Caterina's. And I just want to bless you with this gift.
Thank you, Karen. What we've done today in our time together is we've explored everyone listening to begin to think about what has interfered perhaps with them blissing and thriving in their business. My friends, I want to encourage you to go to the show notes on our podcast page, and you can download Karen's free gift for you. It's at www.healththrivedream.com/healing-planner. You're going to want to get that. Karen also has summits for women that you can attend to support you on your healing journey. Please connect with her. She's an amazing woman who will uplift your life. Karen, I'm blessing to have you with us today on the Expand Your Fempire podcast. Everyone, I want to encourage you to put attention on healing so you can thrive even more. This is Caterina Rando encouraging you to join us again for another episode of the Expand Your Fempire podcast. Bing, bing, bing.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Expand Your Fempire with Caterina Rando.